Welcome all. How are you doing? I am c.truth, host of Thermal Soundwaves and Indie Review, and today we're doing a very special coverage of Conch International Film Festival that's happening in Queens this year out in Forest Hills. Make sure you join us. For more information, go to ConchLIFF.com. And for those who don't know, Conch celebrates the creative voices of indie and student film directors and writers of the Caribbean diaspora who inspire social change and just inspire in general. Right now, today, I have joining me someone who is, I'm just going to call her a creator, a straight up creator, because she does a lot of different things. So I don't want to limit her abilities. All right. She is very talented, very skilled, and a great person in general. We have the pleasure of welcoming with us Jael Joseph. How are you?
I am good. Thank you very much, ECG. Thank you for having me. And
Yes,
thank
indeed.
you to Conch International Film Festival for
Absolutely.
this year.
Absolutely. Yes. So let's dive into a little bit about yourself. You are from the island of Dominica. Yes?
Dominica.
Okay.
so it's a Dom, another de, right? So it's Dominica. So I was born and raised in Dominica, and I moved up to Canada when I was a teenager.
All right. So how was that transition for you? And what part of Canada was it?
Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah.
So how was that transition from, island living to Toronto, which is big city living, strong winters? How was that for you?
I can't say it wasn't too much of a major transition because like every year my family would always visit. If it was in the States, New York, it would have been Montreal, Toronto. So it was pretty easy, kind of getting used to being in a big city. The winters though were a bit much at first, but then I got used to it, and since then, I mean, it's part of what we do, right? If you live in Toronto, and funny enough, though, I know New Yorkers say that it's colder in Toronto, but the weather is pretty much the same. I I feel not. I feel Americans don't know how to handle snow like Canadians. So
Well,
we
that's
don't buckle
true.
under snow. We don't buckle under snow. We're pushing through. Where are the plows? Work continues. Nothing stops. And I think that's the only difference. But in terms of cold, I feel like it's the same cold.
It's slightly colder in Toronto. It's
Smidge.
slightly. Yeah.
A smidge.
But we won't get into all of that. But as someone who's I'm a New Yorker from Brooklyn, and I've been to Toronto many times, to Canada many times. So yeah, I can say that. But anyway, getting back to yourself, when did you want to get into the entertainment field and to doing things in the creative sense? Was that something you were always on the path to, or did you take a detour and just find it one day?
I would say I was always an entertainer. Our home was very much filled with entertainment. My father was involved in a lot of things. My mom was involved in a lot of things at church. My dad involved in a lot of things in the community. So we always had like a lot of people around us. I was always very talkative, always want to get into somebody's conversation, always participating in activities and stuff and in debates and in plays and all of that. So I always had that growing up. When I moved to Canada, it became kind of different because then, you when you grow up in the Caribbean, it's always that you have to end up a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or an engineer. You got to be some in the minds of Caribbean people. That's what makes you somebody, right? So moving to Canada and being open and exposed to so many different things, it allowed me to kind of tap into things that I wanted to do and not necessarily things that I had to do. So I did medical aesthetics. So I did massage therapy, like I did the works, right? I did makeup artistry and, just tapped into that side of things. And it was later on, I think I was probably about 27. When my mom got ill, I realized, that I really loved radio and I really loved being on air and being in the entertainment industry. And that's when things really kicked off for me. I went back to Dominica, worked on a radio station for some time. And when Hurricane Maria happened, I came back to Canada, and here I am.
Right, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely doing it. So you're a personality, an influencer, a filmmaker, so many different things. Are you in the film aspect of things now, or are you still doing all of these other things at the same time?
I do everything. I dabble in everything. I get bored. I'm an Aquarian. So I get bored very,
Right.
very quickly and
Well,
easily. So
Aquarius is communication, so that's
right,
all of
right.
that.
So I gotta stay in tune with everything. So I do a bit of events, I do emceeing, I do podcast producing, I still do my, of course, I still do a lot of filming, I do communications work, I do marketing, I do social influencer. Like I'm on entire bouillon.
Right, absolutely. But I take it all of those skills though come into great advantage when you're trying to do projects of your own. And of course, you're not doing every single thing on a project yourself, but you have, certain people that, you can delegate to and have those things done at some point, right? But being that you know how to do those things, you can better manage and know what needs to be done and what has to be done, correct? Yes?
That is exactly it. That is exactly it. I have a wonderful team, and I've had over the last couple of years, I've had a few people, really offer their services. There's been bata arrangements. There's been all of this, to get to where I needed to get to, and just even going back to school and doing my master's, and that's how the film actually came about. It was part of my master's research project, and just wanting to constantly elevate Caribbean people, always wanting to elevate myself, as a Black woman, and looking for avenues that would really like correlate with that. And I feel like I have a wonderful team. I have a really good support system, not just my team, but my family as well. And some really good friends in my corner. So I say all of that kind of makes it work.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you're just tuning in, if you're just seeing this or hearing this right about now, we are with Jael Joseph, extreme talent here with us. We're talking about the Conch International Film Festival, of course. Make sure you'll join us for that. ConchIFF.com is where you go for more information. And your particular contribution is Territory. That's the big film for you. That's the award-winning film. You've already won awards for that film. Tell us about what Territory is about, which I think is a great concept.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you to Conch for having it on at the festival. So Conch, I battled a little bit with trying to figure out what I wanted to do for my major research project when I started my master's program, and it had to be an issue around Black issues, or indigenous issues. It could either be one of the two, and going back and forth with my supervisor, I was like, you know what, I explored, the Black side of things, that Black concepts a lot in my everyday writing and what I do in terms of producing. So I wanted to tap into the indigenous aspect of it. And it was in the height of COVID. And I was like, I wanna go back to Dominica and film uh the indigenous people. First of all, getting to Dominica was a trip because everything was shut down. So I started doing the research. I started engaging, like connecting with them. The wonderful thing about this project was that because of the influence I garnered being on a radio, I was a familiar person to them already. So it was very easy connecting with people. It was very easy talking to the chief. It was very easy, just getting people to say, okay, this is something that I'd be interested in. And that was one of the things too. I had to also explore the fact that I had that level of influence. I did not want it to come across as if you have to do it because it's me. I wanted it to be something, a project that would really do well for the Kalinago people, and from a humanitarian perspective, as well as help in terms of bring awareness to them, whether it's for economic advancement or whatever. So I started discussing with a few of them, and I did like probably over 25 interviews while everything was shut down. Everybody was on Zoom, and connecting with folks and speaking to them and kind of getting an understanding. And at one point, I wanted to, so my major research project would entail a research paper as well as an actual project. It could have been a film, it could have been a book, it could have been a podcast. And being that I dabbled so much in podcasting, I was like, you know what, I want to go into film. Everybody's like, it's gonna be expensive venture because film's expensive. I'm like, I want to do it because I've done all of the other stuff, so let me try something new. So I reached out to a wonderful team in Dominica, and I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing a film. I don't know where I'm gonna go with it as yet, but I want to know if you guys would be willing to like collaborate with me and work with me and stuff. And they were like, of course, Jael, by all means, like, say less. Let's see, how do we start? How do we get this started? And Naja, who was also a writer, as well as the lead camera woman behind it, again, making sure we had a woman behind that. We both put our heads together, and we started, thinking about all the different themes that were coming out of the interviews that we were having, and what people were saying. And I decided, that along with my supervisor, I decided that it was very interesting, the fact that these indigenous people, had all of these land issues, and then there was this looming thing of their language being completely lost, right? And I was like, I wonder if these connect, so I started researching other indigenous groups around the world, like in New Zealand, even in Canada, just to kind of see what commonalities were there between language and land. And I found, so I was like, oh, that's what I'm gonna tackle. I'm gonna go with that. But I wanted the whoever I selected to be the characters. I wanted them to tell their authentic story. I wanted them to feel, like they were sharing with folks exactly what it means to be an indigenous person in Dominica, as well as all of the different issues, as well as celebrate everything else that happens within their community. And we focus mostly on the economic and political struggles that they go through as indigenous people. Like at the time, they were having internet issues, they were having water shortages, which is something that happens a lot in indigenous communities, where they're kind of they're placed on reserves, and as a result, they're unable to actually have access to things that we everyday people have access. Every other people have access to. And I found this kind of crazy because I'm like, these are the first. These are the first settlers of the land.
I call them original people. That's what I call them.
They're the
original people.
Right? And it kind of like it threw me off. And I spent at some point I eventually got to go to Dominica after everything opened up with masks and everything. And I went into the community, and I mean, I started, spending a lot of time with them, making like regular trips. Where I lived and where the territory is, which is called Kalinago territory. It's like 45 minutes to an hour away. So I would commute, and the roads were horrible, right? So just getting there was a task, right? And starting, to just really have conversations with them even before we started filming. And then I finally decided on Annette, Natasha, and Samosa. And it just, I mean, it's so, I feel so happy about this film because just yesterday, Annette there was an inaugural ceremony for Annette, who became the very first Kalinago woman chief, right?
Wow.
So that is like historic for Territory, the film, as well as something that's very historic for Dominica. And I don't want to say I'm part of it, but I feel part of it. I feel very connected to the community. I feel like my great grandmother was Kalinago, and I started exploring, that a lot more, her struggles, how she got from where they lived to where, eventually moving to where we're from in Dominica, and just understanding the different issues that they have so many issues going on in their community, but a huge part about it is how they're accepted by the rest of the population, how Dominica sees them, and all of the different themes that came out of that, and Territory emerged.
Wow, beautiful. Well, we're looking forward to seeing Territory and what's happening with the original people of Dominica and what's going on with their struggles and things. And it listening to some of the things that you're talking about, it is familiar and it is similar to all the original people all around the world, to how people are trying to cut them off from society as a whole, when they were the ones who were part of the birth of society.
Exactly. And a lot of the things that even a lot of the practices that we have, even how we govern ourselves, like America's entire government system was based after indigenous governance, right? So even just looking at that and their agricultural practices and all of these things, I think like if we tapped more into their strengths, we will be a better people, both where the climate is concerned, where food security is concerned, governance is concerned, empowerment is concerned. Like there's so many things that they practice, spirituality, I can name, it's a plethora of things.
Right. Definitely. Absolutely. And I was reading this book called Palo Alto, which is about, the section in California, Palo Alto, where all the big tech, huge companies came out of. But that book takes a exploration into the original people in that area and what happened to them and what they would do and how they actually used the land and moved around the land according to what was happening. And so very, very, very interesting and great book on that aspect and that note. And a lot of what you're talking about, the same thing happens to them and, so forth. But anyway, come on out, visit with us, hang out with us. The Conch International Film Festival going down this year, live and in person, Forest Hills, Queens, New York City. All right, you will see people like Jael Joseph there. You can mingle with her, network with her, find out how you could become maybe part of her projects and what she's doing, because she does so many things. She may need somebody to become a part of the team. You may have some talents that she can use. So you never know. This is what networking is all about, right? So definitely come on out and see that. And really quick, tell people where they could find out more about what you're doing and your social medias and stuff.
Well, I can be found on jaeljoseph.com. So if you'd like to connect with me directly, I just relaunched my website, which is blackislandgirl.com. And I share lots of stories and articles on people, be it in different forms of media. But if you want to connect with me, these are the two ways. I'm on Facebook. I'm very heavy on Facebook. I do appear on social media, especially Facebook, quite often. You might probably catch me on there at least every day. So I have amassed a huge following there. And I you can find me on Instagram, Jael Joseph. I'm on TikTok, Jael Joseph. I'm on LinkedIn, Jael Joseph. I'm everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. No question. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate you taking time out, and looking forward to seeing you at the festival.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much again to Conch International Film Festival for hosting my film this year, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Take care.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. And folks, that's it for what we're doing right now with this segment, but we have more to come. So stay tuned and check out conchiff.com for more information. See you soon.